Oh, that is it. Good evening, everybody. Well, nobody is actually here yet. I get this. This probably isn't appointment viewing for a lot of people, especially at 8 o'clock on a Friday. But let me go ahead and check the audio anyway, just so I can confirm that it's not all garbled and fucked up. Come on now. Just a second. I'm sure it's fine, but there have been incidents in the past, so better I check it now than find out later. God damn it, this thing is driving me fucking nuts. It gets a little finicky. Here we go. There it is. Thank fucking God. That took longer than it should have. Yes, it is 8 o'clock. This is what we're doing. We are actually live tonight. The audio now checked. I can let you know where to find me on the rest of the social medias at Gary_Moiler, MOYLER, Twitter at Mike Montone. Although I haven't checked my Twitter mentions we're going on a year and a half now. And I very rarely jump into my Instagram DMs. Twitter DMs I will get to because it gives me an alert. And of course, here in the YouTube comments, at Mike's Golden Streams on YouTube, I will usually try to jump in there. Those are just my social medias of choice. I'm not a huge social media guy, so you won't find me creeping around there. When I get to a point where I actually do want to put some work into promoting this little stream, then I'll do the clips and all that shit. But I still don't plan on ever being an over-the-top social media guy. It makes people very, very weird, and I don't want to be like that. I see comedians or people that I follow who are getting into it was the 4th of July once. I forget who the fuck it was, and they were defending a point that I agreed with, but it literally when I went and looked at it, I left my phone in my bedroom down the shore for the entire day on the 4th of July because I didn't want to, I wanted to enjoy the 4th, fucking eating hot dogs, chugging beers, hating all the loser countries, celebrating America. I went back and I looked, and it was their entire previous day had just been arguing with people on Twitter, paragraph after paragraph on the 4th of July, a day of revelry. So it just doesn't appeal to me. Anyway, I am fucking shot tonight. I did 10 miles today, which not a problem. I felt pretty fresh after that. I'm not a distance runner, but I'm efforting a marathon in a couple weeks, so I'm kind of winding down the long runs. I did 22 a couple weeks ago, and now it's just been kind of a nice, easy 10, 11. I think today came out to maybe 12 total miles on foot. But I did that immediately following a dentist appointment. I chew a lot of gum. Well, not anymore. But when I teach group fitness, and you do a lot of projecting, and you're there's loud music going, and you're in people's faces, talking to them, and giving form corrections and stuff. And bad breath offends the shit out of me. I fucking hate bad breath, and it bothers me because I think it's one of those things that the person who has it doesn't know they have it, and then they hit you with it, and there's not a good way to broach it. I don't know, offend is probably not the best way to, but it's just one of those things that I'm always scared of having, which I eat a very low sugar diet, very healthy. So I think I'm probably good, and I brush and take care of my teeth, and I floss twice a day, all that shit. Just got myself a new water pick to replace the old one, so I'm on top of it. But because I was chewing all this gum, when I went in for my cleaning, the dentist was like, yeah, you've basically done the damage to your molars of grinding your teeth all night at sleep. And obviously I've been doing this for quite some time. So they were, getting in there today and doing a little work to to spruce things up. But I was in the chair for 2 hours, so I didn't eat breakfast because I don't like to go to the dentist with fucking food in my mouth. Because again, I just the idea of blasting air out of my mouth and offending others is just I find it quite uncouth, if we're being honest. So literally straight out of the dentist chair, I just hit the fucking street in Hoboken and went out for a 10-mile run. But I didn't really, other than my 2 morning glasses of water and a couple cups of coffee, I didn't really drink anything. So I am fucking cooked right now. I've been trying to make up for it, but being dehydrated is one of those things that's tough to catch up on. So that was my morning routine. Not quite as glamorous as the muscular black gentleman who everybody on social media has been talking about this week. But we can't all be influencers. I don't know why everybody's shitting on that guy so much. I mean, the video is very funny to the point where when I first saw it, and I'm still not so sure, like, I think it was done with the intention of being somewhat ridiculous. Like, I think someone at Saratoga Water was probably like, some kid on social media, he sees, because everybody posts, oh, it's the morning routine. Oh, this is a day in the life. Oh, I do this. People have convinced themselves that their very boring existences are interesting. Case in point, I just told you about going to the dentist. Who gives a shit about that? And I think someone on that marketing team was probably like, hey, what if we threw an influencer, like find someone who looks like he's cartoonishly fucking jacked and have him make like a very sort of vain, idiotic morning routine video. And I've seen it floating around Twitter for a few weeks now. Like, it finally, when people started mentioning it, I was like, oh, I guess it finally gathered some virality. But of all the shit on the internet that is sort of stupid and unnecessary and over the top, I saw it and I was just like, all right, I just kind of lost interest in a lot of it. Although I do love the we need at least 10,000. I did appreciate that. I love that vague sort of like, say something that sounds important. I did enjoy that. So anyway, I hope it works out for him. I hope he's one of those guys who becomes like a meme jackass and figures out how to harness it and get some celebrity out of it. If nothing else, the guy could, if he was so inclined, do like an OnlyFans. Like there are plenty of people on the internet who are probably prone to looking at pictures of gentlemen with such a physique, and we've certainly seen the images of several gentlemen like him standing around a couch upon which sits like a 95-pound 20-year-old blonde chick. So I think there are avenues for him to still be a success. Anyway, last Friday was a pre-record. I was down at a charity axe throwing event for a police organization. And it was exactly what you would expect. Axe throwing in like deep suburban central New Jersey. It's throwing the axe is something that kind of entertains me for 15 minutes. And then it's like, okay, now what? And because then you're at like, it's a very much a bowling alley environment. And it's people running around. And the only person I knew there was my girlfriend. So I was kind of like, and she was running the event. So I was kind of like, just kind of left to my own devices. I did, however, the axe throwing did not go wonderfully. I stuck a few bullseyes, and then a bunch of times it just fucking bounces off of the thing, which they don't show you in the commercial, how frequently you throw a fucking laser. And in fact, the more of a laser you throw, the more likely it is to bounce off. There's this technique where you just kind of fucking snap at the elbow and release. But first time out, and I was throwing bricks, baby. But that was that. There was pizza there, so that's usually good enough for me. Anyway, howdy to you boys in the comments section. How we doing? Michael, plant, growing pains, Costanza, Philly, fathead, cheese. Good to see all of you here. Who else? Shane and Silent Bob. Yes, that is right. The Italian butterscotch stallion has returned. Fucking the Italian. Do people know what a butterscotch stallion is, or is that like a kind of a localized thing amongst me and my friends? A butterscotch stallion is someone who likes to eat ass, because a woman's asshole looks like a butterscotch, and if you eat ass so much that you could be called the stallion, then you are the butterscotch stallion. So that's that. Cowster, no, my girl is not a guinea. She's technically Cuban, but her 23andMe came back like completely Spanish. So I had to very gently explain to her that means she's just from a Spanish family who spent some time in Cuba subjugating and enslaving people until they got chased out. So like they really try to lean into this Cuban thing, but they're very clearly not. The movie Magazine Dreams is about an autistic bodybuilder. Does he just fucking what does he do? Like, does he I'm trying to figure out like what an autistic bodybuilder would be like. I mean, the record keeping is probably meticulous, every set, every week. God forbid you interrupt a rest period and fucking throw him off of that routine, because I'm assuming that I have some mild form of autism, and if somebody gets in the way of what I'm trying to do in the gym and it throws me off my plan just a little bit, inside I become irrationally frustrated. Like, this is why I don't think I have full-blown autism, because I don't have like an outburst over it, but like there is like a little autist inside of me who is fucking stewing, like if I can't get it on an incline bench or a lat pull down or something like that. But geez, I will check that out. Is the morning routine guy is autistic? Interesting. He didn't play as autistic, but I just took it as like incredibly vain. Andrew Bennett, congrats on the PR. Hey, brother man, congrats on the PR, brother man. Throwing that weight around, brother man. All right. Some people know who that is. Yes, Cowster, I will tell you that I'm a big proponent of Latinas with big fucking thick asses. They have to. I like them fit though. Not a fatty who's just fucking spilling out of her leggings. I prefer fit. Not that, of course, as has been detailed on this show, I have certainly traveled down that road a time or two, but that's just for fun. In any case, things to get to tonight. There is, if you've been watching the show for any stretch of time, especially recently, you know that I am very, very interested in the trade war with Canada, mostly because of how hot people on Reddit are getting over it. Reddit is like I love to read Reddit when I shit. Like, I just alternate between Twitter and Reddit because I love reading people's unhinged internet rantings. Like, I don't get too emotionally invested, but I love a good unhinged internet ranting and the ranting and raving about the trade war, with the Canadians on one side, Canadians screaming on into the Reddit sphere about how Americans betrayed them, and this is how could you do this? We've been your ally, and all of that shit that we've been hearing. And I know I have some Canadians who follow. You're all welcome here, eh? Elbows up. But then there's also these Americans who will go in and like simp for the Canadians and apologize and say we can't believe we betrayed you. It's not all Americans. They pretend that like no one down here actually voted for Trump, even though the numbers would beg to differ. Hey, Doug Gilmore, popping in. Pornhub is Canadian, yeah, I know, but that's the thing. Like they're like, oh, we'll shut off access to Pornhub. Like nowhere else on the internet are there videos of people having sex. Like it's just like, it's literally like closing, those little mouse holes in the old Warner Brothers cartoons where the mouse would run out and he would taunt the cat. There was like Tom and Jerry. He'd come out and taunt the fucking cat and then run back in. It's literally shutting down OnlyFans to Americans would literally be like blocking one of those when there's a fucking opening the size of the Mississippi River next to it and being like, oh, well, they'll never access the pornography now. And I will Monday morning mowing with Mike. I will agree with you that Pornhub is really not even close to the best tube site. I would say I'm usually an X videos guy just because that was like my OG go-to tube site. So I kind of know what to search and where to go to very quickly find what I'm in the mood for at that moment. But if I'm deep diving on something and I can't find it anywhere else, like, because sometimes you're just scrolling Twitter and you'll see a fucking a screen grab of a very specific chick in a very specific pose, and you're like, I have to have that. So I'll go to like fucking X Hamster, Spank Bang, or one of those sites, and I find that they tend to be much more reliable, especially if whatchamacallit. I'm a big fan of the Mom POV series. It absolutely incredible stuff. You can literally just picture yourself banging every variety of milfy pussy from chicks in their late 20s all the way up to, I would say, like late 40s, early 50s. So a little something for everyone, and of all body types and ethnicities as well, which is, I think, one place where I do think diversity is incredibly important is in porn. Cowster, do I ever jerk to black chick? Of course. Love Misty Stone. She is A-okay. And there is also there's a lesbian series. It's black chicks and white chicks fucking each other. It's called like Zebra Girls or something like that. There are a couple good ones there. But to each their own, right? Yes, Cheese. That is true. So he did get in trouble, and as a result, a lot of that stuff got pulled down. So you have to be very good at searching for it. So you have to like go into the Mom POV Reddit where people will list all of the scenes, and then you have to go into Google Images, search the scene you're looking for, scroll through the image grabs, and follow those to the tube site that's hosting it, and obviously be very careful that you don't click on anything risky. But yeah, I did hear that guy was a scumbag, but at the same time, I love thick, milfy asses. So, what are we gonna do? Where is the morality in jerking off? Anyway, We went down quite a rabbit hole there. Um, Back to the trade war that started all of this. Um, it spilled over into Instagram. So there's this Instagram page I follow called Taste Atlas. And I'm just going to touch on this very quickly. I'm not going to go down a Taste Atlas rabbit hole, but I did want to pull this up because I guess Taste Atlas is now jumping into the trade war saying Canadian food is warm, rich, authentic, and full of flavor. No wonder it's hated by those who eat burnt steaks with ketchup, which I guess is a jab at. I would assume it's a jab at Trump. Like, I guess he eats his steak like that. Because, I mean, you got to America is like home of the fucking steakhouse. Like, a good bleeding fucking black and blue steak charred on the outside is more American than apple pie. But they put up this map of Canada, and it's got all these foods that we're going to miss out on because of the trade war. And I was looking at it, and I realized that I was not going to miss any of this shit. There was absolutely zero chance that up here, wherever the fuck this is, out in fucking no man's land, that I was going to indulge in any kind of jellied moose nose. What else do we have? We have fricot, whatever. I guess it's some French vegetable dish, which upon further inspection is like carrots, onions, maybe some potatoes. I mean, it's basically it's like the shit that my parents would make when I was growing up in the winter, and they would go on a diet right after New Year's, and I would have to I'd come home exhausted after going to hockey practice and indoor track practice, and I'd sit down to a fucking bowl of steamed vegetables. Yeah, no thanks, Canada. What else are we missing out on? Salmon pie. We're not going to get any salmon pie. Fish and brewis. Yeah. Yeah, I just don't know if this is the own that people the social media team who put this together think it is. Oh no, I won't be able to get a Windsor style pizza. Where else will I get pizza? Here in New Jersey. Here in living on the border of Hoboken and Jersey City in North Jersey, across from New York City, minutes away from Connecticut. Where on earth will I find pizza? Oh dear. So to the smug fucking jerk-offs at Taste Atlas, who I will continue to follow because I am, despite following like a pretty clean diet most of the time, I am kind of like, I love food. I come as anyone who comes from an Italian family does. I'm obsessed with food, which is why I follow Taste Atlas to get ideas for things. In Jersey City, one of the good things about living where I live is that there are little ethnic enclaves all over the place. So you suggest, like some sort of torta or fucking, there's Middle Eastern stuff. I, had a great Middle Eastern lunch over the holidays with a couple of friends of mine. Of course, Italian all over, lots of good Asian stuff. So I follow pages like this for that. And then I see them doing this kind of stuff, and I'm like, all right, you have to remember that it's probably fucking run by a bunch of limp-wristed dorks. So it is what it is. Hey, honey, should I take you out to the new Canadian restaurant? Yeah, I mean, look, I've heard that poutine is incredible. But the thing is, again, New Jersey's the fucking diner capital of America. We have disco fries, and the disco fries come without fucking curdled cheese on top. We just melt it. We use regular cheese and we melt it. So I'm sorry, Canada. Dougie Gilmore, if you're still in here, my sincerest apologies. I was a huge fan of yours growing up when you were playing for the Devils. A few playoff runs there when I was in like middle school and high school really did bring me a lot of joy. I'm just not particularly enamored with your country's cuisine, if we're being totally honest. Before I get into a couple of news stories here, because they're a wild local one, a wild international one, and then some very, very foolish behavior going on, I believe, in the Middle East. Not related to Israel and Palestine. This is related to just tourists making a bad mistake. But we had been talking about Brittany Fortinberry. You remember Brittany Fortinberry from last week's show was the school teacher who cheated on her husband with a bunch of her students that were like 13 years old, and they were all wearing scream masks. And we looked at one picture of her, and it was just it was from probably, I would say, like the nipple line up, and she was wearing like a shirt with a plunging neckline, or it may have been a bikini or something like that. But then I saw another story about her, and I don't have a whole lot more to dip into. I think we said what was said about the story itself, although apparently she could do serious time for this one. But I found some more photographs of her, and I don't know that I was as generous as I should have been in my assessment of Miss Fortinberry. Now, she apparently lost a lot of weight, and after losing all that weight became very, very horny. And that's what led to the so I guess her husband wasn't fucking her right. But the picture we used, she looked much more full-bodied than I remember. And she is a very thick gal, but I think the new pictures do her far more justice. Let me see if I'll pull up try to pull up a couple of them here. And again, like she's not Sydney Sweeney by any stretch of the imagination, but remember, we're talking flyover country, thick blonde school teacher who's willing to, or not even willing to, demands that her students bang her while wearing scream masks. So if you've got that kind of freak in you, I would say you receive a very, very generous point spread. So I'm just quickly here kind of pulling up a couple pictures, and then we'll click through them. Now, this is a very... God damn it, that one is way too small. Son of a bitch. These are so small. I can't show you the heft of her bosom. I'm just going to go ahead and show the entire fucking Google image search page here. And if you're on, if you're on a big enough screen, you'll perhaps get a decent enough look. Let's see how it's showing up. Yeah. So she has a far, far heavier bosom than I had previously believed, and it is a much better breast to waist ratio than I had expected. When I saw this picture that where she's wearing in the upper right here, where she has the white top with the black shoulder straps, I thought she was a much rounder gal. It turns out that everything evened out reasonably nicely. And I'm telling you, if you ran into her, again, I said this last week, if you ran into her down in like Daytona or Cancun or somewhere at the right place, at like a Senor Frogs, where you're throwing back margs and people are funneling beers, and you're looking for a good fucking time, she's going to show it to you. And I would imagine, we don't have any ass shots here, but she's tattooed up her thighs. heavy, heavy tits, and that bleached blonde fucking we are going to throw caution to the wind look. So if I'm on the jury, I am being very, very generous with her. And if I was the judge, I would rule that fucking courtroom with an iron fist. The moment the prosecution stepped off the straight and narrow, I would be there to set them back. Because if you're, and yes, I know, of course, that the exploitation of minors is terrible. However, this is, again, one of those situations where, as a result of this, I mean, the real bad thing, again, that she did to them is that it's going to be 15 years before any of these kids finds a chick with this kind of freak in her. Because the thing about, like, college chicks, they look great. Like, everyone wants to fuck a girl gone wild on spring break. They're nubile, young, at their sort of most fertile, and thereby, from an evolutionary perspective, most attractive. But you get on in years a little bit, and what you realize is that it's somewhere around their mid-20s or so is when chicks really start to, like, find their freak, and, like, they know what they're doing, and as they get to their 30s, they just become they lean more into their sexuality. Like, they go out to get theirs, and they provide a much, much better experience. So it's going to be so long before these kids can find that. So that's really the unfortunate thing. Like, they're gonna have to order up, like, 40-year-old escorts to match that kind of freak. So if she's going to be punished for anything, she should be punished for that. And I, for one, would be happy to put her in shackles and deliver the spanking. But anyway, yeah, just an update on her. And as long as the New York Post covers her, I will follow up on any other delightful photographs that should show up. But Brittany Fortinberry is the name. So if you're curious, if you search Google image search, if you couldn't get a good look at that Brittany Fortinberry bikini pics, if you don't mind a slightly thicker gal, but with a heavy set of tits, I think you're going to like what you see. Is it Men's Warehouse or Joseph? You're going to like the way you look. Anyway, what should we go to? We'll end on the fun one. We'll start with the sad one so we can kind of clear it out. Well, two of them are somewhat sad, but one of them involves idiocy on a somewhat massive scale. This one's actually sad. There was thousands dead after earthquake in Thailand and Myanmar. I thought it was Burma now. I hope Peterman wasn't hurt. Toppling buildings, leaving behind hundreds of miles of destruction. I mean, this thing was so bad. There's a one building just fucking, it was a skyscraper. It collapsed like it was the fucking World Trade Center. Another one was a hotel or a luxury apartment with a pool on top, and it got shaken so badly that the water started cascading over the edge of the tower, which is like, if you've never been in an earthquake before, they just come out of nowhere. Like other weather or natural events, they come with a warning. Like, you can prepare for them. An earthquake is literally like you're asleep and all of a sudden everything is just fucking shaking and you have to go stand in the shower or in the fucking doorway or wherever and make yourself safe. I was stationed in Okinawa for a couple years, and it's just, Okinawa is just a little rock in the middle of the fucking ocean, and they get earthquakes all the time. and a number of them happened like just while I was, sleeping. I remember the first time it ever happened, I was asleep on a Sunday morning, and all of a sudden, like I just woke up to like the, and I was like, what the fuck? And I actually figured out on my own that it was an earthquake. I heard I heard like a razor or something like that fall in the bathroom, and like the shaking, and I was like, oh, this is like on TV when there's an earthquake. And I was like, wait, this might actually be a fucking earthquake. But it's just like, I mean, the one, it's like 9/11, and I'm gonna open up this image here. Hopefully this one opens at a decent size. There it is. I'll share it. So this is the building imploding on itself. And again, like 9/11, the planes hit the towers. Obviously, that very unexpected. But then the buildings are on fire, and you're like, okay, something very even worse could happen here, right? Like a building that gets hit by a plane. You at least have that. They had that 40 minutes or whatever to be like, oh, this fucking thing might come down. These people were just at work. Like literally, you see this woman in the hard hat running, and you're like, oh, 30 seconds ago, she was just standing. I don't know if they have a fucking roach coach. Yeah, they have little roadside snack stands. If you've ever been, I don't know if they have them on the East Coast, but I know in Southern California they're popular, and they would drive onto the base at Camp Pendleton all the time. They call it the Roach Coach. It's this guy pulls up playing La Cucaracha out of the fucking converted pickup truck and sells like burritos and sandwiches and shit. And they're big around like military installations and construction. But, she's just chatting with some buds over at the Roach Coach, getting some fucking prawns with hundreds and thousands of tons of fucking steel and debris. And it's not like this shit doesn't just land and fall into like a neat pile. Like you have to think there's glass, there's nails, there's screws, there are fucking planks of wood. Like every piece of debris in the world is being launched at least like 100 miles per hour in every fucking direction. Like this is basically a moment out of Final Destination or something like that. Like this is like when regular life just turns into horrific death in moments. And it's always like, earlier this year we had the plane crash in DC where it was the helicopter and the plane, and they were landing. Like it was like, that you'd think the flight's over, we're gonna be on the ground in a couple minutes. And it's like, it's amazing how these happen. And I guess my fascination with this kind of stuff is probably because I grew up in a town that was horribly affected by 9/11. It was a town of 11,000 people, and we had like a dozen die that day. And prior to that, we had like an entire family was wiped out in the Lockerbie attack on the Pan Am Flight 103. So like there was always just like this fucking, it was like this very Tony, well manicured suburb that had this like specter of death hanging over it, because there are all these fucking memorials around town to victims of terrorism, and not like in this obscure sense where it was something that happened in a city or something, far away or whatever. It was like, no. Like, what fucking houses the people lived in. So this kind of stuff is always fascinating. I woke up this morning and I like to watch the local news when I get up and it's not a work day. I like to have a nice slow start with some coffee and a little local news. And by the way, if you are in the New York City area and you like to watch the local news, check out the ABC7 weather chick, Danny Beckstrom. She is All right. Woo. She is a reason to hop out of bed in the morning. She is a good one. Um, I believe she's a Mormon. I think she went to BYU, she was saying on the show once, which I don't know. I don't know if being a Mormon makes you more or less of a freak because of all like the repression and there are multiple wives. So I don't know if like Mormon chicks hit an age where they just become fucking fiends after they do that soaking thing in college where like they lay atop one another and then they get someone else to shake the bed for them. Um, but yeah, this is horrible stuff. And of course, Thailand is like it's such a vacation place. Like people go on multi-week trips there. It's a very popular. It's basically Thailand is like the Caribbean for people from Europe and Russia and elsewhere around Asia. Like that's really where people go to get their. If you're American, you might go down to like the Dominican or Puerto Rico or wherever. Um, People in that part of the world go to Thailand. So whenever one of these things happen, like remember there was that massive tsunami on like it was on like New Year's Day or some shit, or like right around New Year's back. I think I was in high school or college. I remember being away for like New Year's vacation with my family, and we had a big. It was before Airbnb. We would do effectively Airbnb. We'd rent like a big mansion with a bunch of our friends' families. I remember coming into the kitchen for breakfast, and there was like a little TV on with like the news running about it, and the New York Times was back when you would just read the New York Times for like news in the year 2000 whatever the fuck it was. Before reading the New York Times was just going to be page after page of being scolded for being born a white male. And I remember like seeing like the footage of like the beach, which with all the shit. And like, they say that when that happens, and we would get them in Okinawa, but Okinawa had a built up seawall because it had to. And when there would be a tsunami warning, everyone would go to higher ground. I actually lived on the high ground. So for me, it was kind of like whatever. But like, you would load your place up on booze because you couldn't go out down to like the village. And you just had to wait out the wave. And like, we would look out over the fucking, over the ocean and wait for the wave to come in. But apparently if you're down there, like the sea recedes and you can see like all of this shit. Like you remember the five Chinese brothers when the one guy would drink the entire ocean and then they would gather up the fish. That is effectively what was going on. Which I wonder if like a Chinaman had been sailing out to Thailand because of course those nations engaged in quite a bit of sea travel from their earliest days and witnessed something like that, and perhaps that's what happened. But yeah, what a wild thing. Boxing Day. Thank you. Yes. Boxing Day. It was December 26th. That makes sense. Orion, annoyed Wawa supervisor, which is an incredible name. I fucking love Wawa. But yeah, Orion. There's actually a place near me that sells Orion, which for those not in the know, Orion was is the Okinawan beer. Wherever you go in Okinawa, they have Orion. Yeah, I love. I got to pick up some Orion. Yes, Cowster. I believe that was what I was saying. That the chick had the hard hat on, so like just imagine all of the bolts and probably like some saws and shit going. Like there was probably a circular saw just fucking whipping through the air like a frisbee. Jeez, a fat chick riding you. No, that's more akin to being buried alive. I do appreciate you comparing our girl Brittany to Stifler's mom. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. You have to, I would say, before you settle down, if you're a single guy and you haven't gotten with a chick like that, just to backtrack, I'm I'm telling you, find one. You will have a fucking blast. It is a good time. Um Elsewhere in global tragedies, 6 dead after tourist submarine carrying 40 passengers sinks off of Egypt's Red Sea coast. And I don't know if this has been updated. I have to assume that they were eventually all dead, or did they actually recover it? Uh, Either way, they were all Russian citizens. But either way, the other 39 were rescued. This was in Egypt, and these are tourists from India, Norway, and Sweden, which, I mean, Christ. From Norway or Sweden, where it's cold all the time and you can't really pick up any stink in your nose, and then the next thing you know, you're in a desert environment with a bunch of fucking people from India. Oof. That's a tough one. That's a pungent situation. They were probably sweating heavily before getting onto that submarine. I hope it was at least air conditioned. But you just shouldn't go on a tourist submarine. It's a really, really stupid idea to go on a tourist submarine. That's literally all I can say. In November, this is another one. 4 people drowned and 33 were rescued when an Egyptian tourist diving boat was struck by high waves and sank within minutes. Another boat sank in June after storm damage, although no casualties were reported. Yeah. This is like one of those things where it's like, do you want to die on vacation? I don't know what it is about going on vacation that people feel the need to do stupid activities. Like, jungle, let's go jungle zip lining. Like, really, do you know any countries that have active jungles where you would feel comfortable getting on a fucking zip line? Because even in America, like, I really don't, like, I don't trust carnies. I don't remember that kid that fell from the scary thing about, like, rides in America or anywhere is not the ride itself. Like, I'm comfortable with the idea that on a roller coaster, the bar, if or the fucking vest thing, if appropriately applied, thanks to the immutable laws of physics, is going to do its job, and we'll ride this ride. It'll be fine. It's not the ride that's the problem. It's the people operating the ride, because our best and brightest are not becoming attendants at Six Flags or Coney Island or wherever the fuck. Likewise, if you're an engineer who's qualified to work on submarines and you're any good at what you do, you're probably working on like a nuclear sub or developing some sort of stealth technology that we can use to spy on other countries, or getting ready for you've been transferred to work on like some sort of space mission where if we get to a planet where there's water, we can deploy a submarine. You're doing something far more important than captaining, say, what's the name of this thing? The Sinbad. Yes, that's right. The Sinbad. I'm assuming not named after the comedian. Sinbad, I believe, was a sailor in like fucking, Popeye. Certainly, I believe there was a Sinbad, but then I believe in. Yes, it's 1001 Nights. He's the hero of a story. He's a fictional character. He hails from Baghdad during the early Abbasid Caliphate between the 8th and 9th centuries AD. He's a fictional mariner. Um, and having been to Iraq, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I would never, I would never trust any watercraft um, with any ties to anything even remotely Iraqi. And even if that is just a loose affiliation with the name of a fictional sailor, the Iraqis are very, they like to just, and this is very Middle Eastern in general. The problem somewhere, we'll just patch that together and inshallah, we will not all die. But it doesn't matter if we die because we're going to Allah. Because we've said our prayers and we've done our duty as Muslims. So not the kind of place where you want to ride a tourist submarine. I wouldn't get in a military submarine over there. Yeah, just bad idea all around. You hate to hear about horrible things like that happening to people, but also just don't stop getting on tourist submarines. Once that fucking Titanic thing happened, that should have been the end of anyone thinking it was a good idea to get on a fucking tourist submarine. So there is a bit of you reap what you sow. But you hate to hear about someone's vacation being ruined. I love a good vacation. Yes, Wawa supervisor. Yeah, and explain that if you're at Wawa right now supervising people, explain that to them. As their leader, you do have a responsibility to remind them that if they're going on vacation, and I would say anytime any of your people goes on vacation, I would remind them not to get into any Egyptian fucking tourist submarines. Um, No, I do not do any of that shit. Bungee jumping, paragliding. The most dangerous tourist activity I have ever engaged in was when I was in Jamaica on spring break in college. There's a place called Rick's Cafe, and it has like probably about a 30-40 foot cliff, and you can jump off of it. And I did that because a bunch of my buddies jumped off of it, and I wasn't going to be the pussy who didn't jump off of it. So that was that. Yes, I'm sorry. Whoever, yes, I do need to do a little nose blow. Came down with a little something. The past week just fucking exhausted the shit out of me. I was a little run down, and when you spend 4 days out of the week at a group fitness facility, um it fucking it you're exposed to a lot of people breathing very heavily, and eventually you catch a little something. So I do have a little sniffle. It's not There's not enough to like blow. Like, when you got like a stuffed nose and you can fire a fucking rocket out of it. This is just more a very light, slow fucking mucus drip. So that's that. Um yeah. Anyway, before we wrap up, this is like right down the street from me. The bus that I take home from work on weekdays goes right past the fucking police department here over in North Bergen. Um, Apparently, the police chief there is having just the time of his life. Um, there's several images associated with this. I want to see if I can hold on. Let me get the article open and the images open because these images are worth you seeing them. First picture that's up there. Uh, Momentarily here, but just going through the list of accusations, he's accused of creating a toxic workplace through disturbing pranks. I'm gonna be honest. Some of these pranks are kind of hilarious. Some of them are psychotic, but also if something like this to one of to one of your buddies in like 1995, it would also be considered hilarious. He spiked the coffee pot with Viagra, which is dangerous as hell because if someone's already taking like nitrates for a heart condition, they can stroke out. He pricked an officer's penis with a hypodermic, allegedly with a hypodermic needle, and allegedly defecated on the floor. And I think there's like more shit. Like I was listening to 1010 Wins, and they said that he had mailed sex toys to an officer's home. Detective Michael A. Darren, whose cop father has also filed a lawsuit, claimed that Farley instructed him to clean up the piles of crap before the cleaning lady would arrive at work and see them. Demand made after the chief noticed the cleaner documenting the fecal horror with her cell phone. So says the New York Post. He also allegedly left a deuce in the trash can for his replacement to find. Oh, so when he was promoted to chief, he took a shit in a trash can, and allegedly it took several days of pestering the chief for him to finally agree to clean it up. He allegedly made one of his cops do his daughter's homework, including writing a letter and for a culinary class, and instructed the young officer to ignore police work until he had completed the paper. This is like if you gave Michael Scott methamphetamine, this is the kind of thing that would happen. He would allegedly dump a handful of Viagra and Adderall into a communal coffee pot, in which the chief microwaved a cup of hot sauce, which caused firefighters and EMS to respond. The heated up hot sauce was heated up to such a degree that the pepper essence fumigated the air of the entire building, creating a pepper spray-like effect that sent staffers scrambling. Like this is incredible shit. Like that's the kind of thing that you wish you did in like the teacher's lounge in high school. Like if you had broken into the teacher's lounge in 10th grade and microwaved a bowl of fucking Tabasco sauce and just fumigated the teacher's lounge, you would be a legend. I remember when I was growing up, I was in 8th grade and a bunch of high school kids broke into the school over the weekend and they shit all over the principal's office and the assistant principal's office. They just shit everywhere, and then just left it for the school to find it the next day. And I also remember someone shit in a urinal when we were in 10th grade in the boys' locker room. I was right at the beginning of track season. And I remember the track coach bringing all of the male athletes into the fucking the gymnasium or like the health room or something like that, and just reaming everybody, demanding to know who took the shit. And of course, it was not an athlete. It was some fucking one of the stoner kids who thought it would be funny to shit in the locker room when no one was in there, of course, and leave it in the urinal. But yeah, shit as a fucking teenage boy is just the funniest thing in the world. But let's get just a photo review of some of Chief Farley's alleged shenanigans. Here he is allegedly shaving his arm over the desk of a subordinate while other people watch, which is just an odd move. He's completely shirtless. They're saying this is one of his humiliation rituals. This is the pile of feces. And there's the note. It says, Chief Farley's defecation. I mean, that is a straight up black mound of shit. It just looks like a melted bag of licorice. Which, if you walk around my neighborhood, there's a lot of people who don't clean up after their fucking dogs. So I was out for a run today, and it was literally like I'm gonna blow out a fucking ACL juking a pile of dog shit at the last second. What else is the chief up to? Get this out of here. This is just, here's the chief. Chief Robert Farley is accused of retaliation, falsifying paperwork, and a litany of disgusting pranks. The pranks he shouldn't be charged for. The other stuff is bad, but the pranks are just fun. And then I guess he just shattered some glass, so I guess this guy is allegedly just a total fucking lunatic. But what do you say? I'll do this. As I move to wrap up the show here and hop into the comments section one last time. We'll leave that on the screen for a moment. Not to alarm you, but somebody did just come into our Tunnelly Ave location and tried to use a clearly fake ID to try and buy Muscle Milk, Diet Coke, and an Iron Rhino. First of all, I don't believe that Wawa sells erection pills. I believe those are 7-Eleven and Bodega products. Because I don't even Wawa doesn't sell rolling papers. I don't think either. But is there a Tunnelly Ave Wawa? Because if there is, that's a game changer. I gotta look that up. Are you shitting me? There's a North Bergen Wawa? Oh, I didn't know about this. Oh my. Oh, that is good to know. Ooh, I like that. I fucking love a, I do the double meat, double cheese, Italian. Love a fucking Wawa sandwich. Good shit. Oh, that is huge. CM Punk Playboy. What is going on with CM Punk right now? I'm not a huge wrestling guy. Is CM Punk doing something of note? I was a big D-Generation X guy when I was growing up. I remember there was a DX, it was like a VHS tape, and they had a military vehicle, and they were going to wage war on the WWF building in Stamford. And I remember, I forget if it was Triple H or Shawn Michaels. One of them wanted to stop at a Sam's Club and pick up some snacks for the ride before they went and attacked the WWF building. But yeah. Hey, come on now, Cowster. Who doesn't? Who doesn't? She'd tear your hole up real good with that. Okay, guys. It is 9:04. It is past my bedtime. I have to make myself some dinner, blow my nose, and relax a little bit. So I do appreciate you guys joining me. I don't know what next Friday is. If we're being totally honest, I don't know if I have a thing. I think I'm live. I'm not sure. I'll try to be. If not, then pre-record, but I will attempt to be live. Appreciate you guys being here. at 20 in the chat now as we wrap it up, but even more earlier than that. So appreciate you guys being here. This is twice as many people as we've usually had in the past. So yes, I will treat myself to some broccoli. All right, guys. Remember the socials: Twitter at Mike Montone, Instagram Gary_Moiler, YouTube at Mike's Golden Streams. Send around, tell your friends if they enjoy a middling live stream on a Friday night. They will enjoy Sacktap Live. Philly Fathead, everybody else. Appreciate the kind words, and I'll catch you next time. Have a great weekend.